Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last thing. Let's talk about tests. We've had our first test in both classes, so now is the appropriate time to talk about retesting or reassessment. Now, the number one goal of reassessment is not to improve your grade. The number one goal of reassessment is to determine what did you not understand the first time, work on what you didn't get, and now reassess the second time to show us that you have, in fact, between the two, learned something. That's the point of reassessment. So there are a couple requirements. Number one, after the first test is taken, you're going to have 5 school days before you have to have the reassessment done. So 5 school days before you can do the reassessment. Additionally, between those 2 times, you have to contact me. We have to have a conversation either via Zoom or email that says, yes, I wish to reassess. Here's what you have told me to do, and we set up a plan on how best to help you do better that second time. Second thing that you have to do after you've told me is you have to make sure that you have absolutely everything before the first test made up before you're allowed to reassess. So let's say, for example, you took the first test, but you didn't do all the delta math from the chapter. You have to have all that done before you can take a reassessment. What happens if you didn't do all your ed puzzles? You have to have all those done before you can take a reassessment. Any projects that we did that chapter, you have to make sure those are done before you can do a reassessment. It doesn't make any sense for me to allow you to reassess without having done all of the learning components for that chapter, because that's probably why we didn't do really well the first time. So you have to first let me know that you want to take the test and you want to do it within 5 days, or you have to do it within 5 days. So we also, second, have to have a plan, and that plan is going to include you putting anything that's missing, putting it right before you reassess. The third thing is, I may require something else to be done between those 2 tests. So not only do you have to have all the stuff ready for the first test, you may have to correct an old test. You may have to do an additional practice. Depending on what you got wrong, we're going to do a learning activity somewhere in the middle before you do that test. So the last thing about reassessment is your grade on the reassessment is your final grade. I'm not going to compare the 2 to figure out which one is better. Whatever you get on the second try, that's what you get. And this makes sense, because if you didn't do well the first time, there was something that you were missing. If you made everything up, we figured out what was missing, you worked on what was missing, you should do better the second time. Okay, so first things first, you have to notify me that you need to take the test, and you have 5 days to get it done. Second thing, you must make sure everything before that first test was caught up and do anything else that's in the middle. Finally, third thing, you will only get what the second retest says. Those are the rules for retests in my classroom. So with that in mind, the goal here is to make sure that you're doing the very best you can. And remember, this is the other reason we set all those delta math and ed puzzle all the way to the end of the quarter, because we need people that are either reassessing to have the opportunity to make sure they're caught up for reassessment, or if they have a family or medical emergency or other extenuating circumstance, that's why those dates are set in ed puzzle and delta math like they are. But remember, everything you do is determined by the big red arrow in the slideshow, and you're to keep up with the class right where we are. Okay, guys.